For Thanksgiving 2020, this is the re-release of the interview with Jenny Pruitt on the Jere Metcalf Podcast. Jenny is the founder of Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's International Realty, and industry icon. This interview is shared in gratitude to Jenny and our current CEO, David Boehmig, and our senior managing broker, Nancy C., and all of leadership at Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's International Realty, for all you have given me, for the grace, the wisdom, and the platform from which my team and I have grown and are so successful today. This interview is perhaps the best interview on the Jere Metcalf Podcast. Many of you may remember, not so long ago, I left Sotheby's, and 18 months later, I returned. Listening now to the advice that Jenny had, neither of us knowing at all what the future held, the truths that she shared, they have revealed themselves to me in time, and especially these last couple of years. In our conversation, she shares rare wisdom and history of her career, some shared rarely, if not only, in this interview. She gives some of the wisest words shared not just to me, not just for our industry, but to leaders of any industry. You will know exactly what I mean when you listen to this conversation today. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. Today is a very exciting interview. We are talking to Jenny Pruitt, the owner and founder and CEO of Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's International Realty. And Jenny, thank you for being with us. It's good to have you today.
I'm looking forward to it.
So I am excited just to let Jenny tell us so much about your experience and what you've done. And my very first question is, tell us, how did you get into the real estate business?
Well, ironically, my mother was in the real estate business. And even though she wasn't very successful, I early on thought this might be a great business, but I never really pursued it. She kept encouraging me, which I appreciated. And then I got married 51 years ago to a wonderful man that really encouraged me because he saw sales traits that I had that he thought would relate very well to the real estate business. And I don't test very well. And I knew that I would have a hard time passing the test. So he coached me all the way through the real estate exam.
Oh, wow.
So in actually October 17th, 1967, which this year would be 51 years, that I have been in real estate, have loved every minute. I started out with a company. I was in sales for 9 years. And fortunately, I was one of the top agents for 7 of those 9 years. And then I went into management with that company for 7 years. And then, so after 16 years with that company, I left and went to another company and helped them grow their business from 350 agents to 650. And after being there for 5 years, a venture capitalist by the name of Kim King, who's not with us any longer, but a very well-known Atlantan, came to me and said, I'd like to put you in the real estate business and with your own company. And I really wasn't interested at that time because this was in 1988, because I had the top selling office in Atlanta and with 90 wonderful sales associates. And I couldn't imagine leaving them to go somewhere else to start my own company. Mm-hmm. But my husband, who's always been a very wise advisor, said to me, well, you never know what's on the other side until you open that door. So why don't you go have lunch with him after he had asked me 3 times out to lunch?
Wow.
And just tell him that there would be 3 things that would make you maybe change your mind. And those,
good question.
Yes, those 3 things were that he would provide all the capital, give me majority ownership of 51%, and total control. And I said, well, I think that he would probably not do that because that's sort of very demanding. And he said, well, you've got nothing to lose. Just go ahead and ask him. And so I did. And Kim said after.
So wait, I want to, because for all of our listeners, I want to hear those 3 things one more time.
Okay. So that he would put up all of the capital.
Mm-hmm.
It cost a couple of $1 million to really start, maybe even more these days, a first-class real estate organization. And that would be that he would put up the capital. He would give me 51% ownership.
And total control.
And then
I just want to make sure
it.
everybody knows what you like. Everybody just register what she's asking for. All right. So
we go to lunch, and we just got the menus, and they had poured the water. And he said, so I'm a very bottom line person. What would it take to get you?
Well, there you go. Right to the point.
I said, and I gave him those 3 things. And he said, well, I've never started a company, bought a company, or merged a company that I put up all the capital, gave away majority ownership, and all of the control. But your reputation precedes you, and you're the person I want to be in business with. And so off to the races we went. And in October 88, we opened up Jenny Pruitt and Associates, and we went into a recession immediately, the first quarter of 89, but we grew anyway. And then my husband and I were in the business together. He was the chief financial officer, and I was the CEO. And so in 2001, we sold to Home Services, a division of Berkshire Hathaway. And
so this is 20 years later. In
yes.
2007. Okay.
No, 2001.
Oh, 2001. That's right. Okay.
And I worked out a 5-year contract and then retired for 30 days and decided that I really loved the business too much that I couldn't just retire and go away. Other words, from the business world. So in 2007, David Boehmig, the co-founder and president of our company, and I started Atlanta Fine Homes Sotheby's International Realty. And then again, very first year, went through a recession. And it was a long, very painful recession for 4 years.
I remember that one. Wow.
Yes. And then in 2010, after 4 years in the business, we became profitable. And we have really been growing to the tune of 10 or 20% a year after that.
That's incredible.
Recession.
10 to 20% a year. So 4 years of pretty strong. I mean, it was a pretty strong recession we went through. Very memorable.
It was very strong.
Many people in, reflection are calling it a depression now.
Right.
So, knowing you've gone through that and you've watched all of these agents over the years. I mean, you have, I can tell you as a local agent in Atlanta, and I would say one of my biggest mistakes might be that I did not start with you, because I have seen that you always lead the most successful real estate agents in the city over and over again. That's just who you are. You attract those people, and you have the ability to mentor and lead people in a way to truly bring out the best in them. And I lead with that. I lead with that to ask you, what traits do you think make a successful real estate agent?
Just like you.
Oh, good answer. Play that over and over when you edit. Isaac, I'm kidding, everybody.
So, I've trained thousands of agents, and there's some common denominators that always stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to say that they have to be self-starters, very important. They have to be able to motivate themselves. I can create a culture, an environment that is very motivating, very inspiring, and very encouraging, but they still have to be able to motivate themselves. It's a business that you really need to have that inner strength, that inner confidence that you can make it, because it can be a business that you can get rejected easily when you lose a client or a listing. It's very competitive. So another quality would be that they can handle rejection. I like to see and I hire really from a gut level.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see fire in the belly.
Mm-hmm.
And I can take someone that doesn't know the technical skills of real estate, but if they have some of the basic qualities like a self-starter, fire in the belly, really want to make it persistent, all those things that come with it, we can make a superstar out of them, showing them. And if they've got to be a good listener, very important, because sometimes the client, you've got this buyer out and they're saying that they don't want this style, but really they don't realize a lot of times what they really want. You show them something totally different than what they wanted, and they'll say, "How did you know?" Well, you were listening. Mm-hmm. You were really listening. Like I had a client one time that said, "Now I do not want a contemporary home. Do not show me anything contemporary."
Right.
But when we went into a home that wasn't contemporary on the outside, but was very open on the inside, it wasn't just chopped up rooms, wasn't very traditional, they said, "This is what I've been looking for." And that is really what we would have called contemporary, but they were coming from a part of the country that contemporary did not have a good connotation to them. But really that's what they wanted, the California openness of the rooms flowing into each other.
That's an important, listening to not what you think they mean, but listening to dig past the words, listen past the words that they're using.
Right. Listen for what they don't tell you.
It's not what they are saying, it's what they're not saying.
Right. So they have to be good listeners, good communicators. They have to, in our company, because of the culture and environment that we build, that people are helping each other. There's always, they celebrate each other's success. They have to be a good team member. In all the years that I have been in management and have owned my companies, I have only had to exit 5 top agents over all of those years. And every single time, you've heard that story that there's a rotten apple in the barrel. It was because they were contentious and they couldn't get along with the other people in the company. And, it was just obvious that it was not the right fit.
And it's going to spread.
Yes.
And I find, in interviewing agents, I find the most successful agents, their success is built on our relationships with other agents. And I love that about this business. That so many businesses, our business is accused of being competitive, which it is, but the other word is cutthroat.
Right.
And I think you could call it that, but when you align yourself with the right people, which is what's something so powerful, and I see in the way that you lead, being someone led by you, is that you can be in an environment where it's anything but that. And you are like who you spend, you are who you spend most of your time with. And I think that kind of goes back to what you're saying. It's such a great example.
Right.
I would love to know your thoughts about, especially with your experience in starting 2 incredibly successful companies in a recession. What are your thoughts about what other CEOs and owners can do to win great admiration from their stakeholders?
Well, they need to build the type of environment and culture that is a really caring environment. There's a motto that I use that if you care about the people first, the bottom line will come. And so I never think about, of course, when you have a successful business, you have to think about the bottom line. But I don't really think of it when it comes to our people. I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help them reach their next level of success and to be successful in their real estate career. So we're always thinking about ways that we can help them be successful. And one of those ways is that to create that environment that makes them feel, because the real estate business can be, as you said, very competitive. It can be lonely out there. And when they walk into one of our 4 offices, wherever they reside, they need to feel welcomed and cared for, and they may have had a terrible day. And they need to feel as though that we are embracing them when they walk into one of our offices. I think that's very important, to create that encouraging and motivational and inspiring leadership for them.
As an agent in your office, I want to add to that, in that I remember when I came to this company, I don't know if you remember this, but I wasn't sure. I knew this was a really great company, but I wasn't sure how I was going to fit in. Just because I hadn't been here, I'd been in a very different culture.
And I will never forget when I arrived. It took about a week. And I said to you, you may not remember because it was so long ago, but I said to myself, I said, I'm home.
Oh.
And I really did. I said, this is home. And I love that because what you said to me, we all have a home. We all sell homes, but in the business and in the environment that we're in as agents, when we're able to, and I say this to all of our listeners, is that, I think a lot of my success and the success of agents in the companies they're in is in that company. They're in an environment where they are at home and they have a strong foundation that they can grow their business from.
Well, saying that you feel like you're home is music to my ears.
Well, it is true. And it has been true. It's been about 8 years, or it's been since 2010. And over those years that I knew that almost instantly, and it has maintained true over the years. So thank you. Mm-hmm. What are the keys to CEOs or owners building a high level of trust in their organization?
Well, I think that they need to be open and transparent. I don't think that agents have to think about there's hidden agendas or why is our CEO president doing this. Mm-hmm. They have to be very careful not to play favorites. Mm-hmm. They have to not mind saying, I'm sorry if they've made a mistake, because we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And they need to be the first that can step forth and say, I'm sorry. It's not the way it should have been done. They need to show that vulnerability, I think, to be a real person. And I want to work for a real person. If I was being an agent again, I'd want to work with somebody that I had a very high level of trust. And, trust is hard to obtain, and it's the easiest thing to lose. So once you have the trust, you need to protect it against anything that could happen to it, because it is the most important thing. When I stand up and say something to our people, they can bet their bottom dollar that is the truth.
And I will say this, and I'm speaking on the real estate agent level too, is knowing that. I think when I hear you say that as a real estate agent, just the CEOs and the owners listening to this, that's such a huge message. And to us as agents, it's the same message, and is in having that leadership, remembering to have those same values to the people, to our clients, is remembering they've hired us not just to do a deal, but because they trust us. And in having that leadership and being able to you are what you're around, and being able to have that so that we're able to do the same thing and create and develop and honor that trust that our clients have with us. What does leadership and being a leader mean to you?
Well, I have done a talk on this before, and I think that this was one thing that I love. It's called the 3 Ps of success. And that would be passion, purpose, and undergird it with prayer. So if you have found your passion, you will find your purpose. Or it could be vice versa. You find your purpose, you find your passion. Mm-hmm. And I think, and then I undergird everything with prayer, but that just makes it stronger, the purpose and the passion. And the passion that I have for the business, when I was in sales, it was for my clients, that passion to find the right home, to list their home and get it sold, with a buyer to find the right home. And I loved the thrill of the chase of the contract. I just loved it.
Well, I think you missed that. You said when you left.
I did. When I transitioned after 9 years, and all the applause and all of that of being successful, I really missed that at first. And so for the first 3 months, I had to do a paradigm shift. I had to find my passion and find my success by helping other people succeed. But boy, when that was turned around, it was so fulfilling, because I love to see someone come into the business and not even realize their full potential. And I see it before they do sometimes. And I love that when I see that they're making it and they're fulfilling their dreams. They're really fulfilling my dreams, because they're really helping me with my purpose in life, and therefore passion, and therefore fulfillment. And so I think that would be, what was your question again? Give it to me again.
What does leadership and being a leader mean to you? And the 3 Ps?
Yes. So we've talked about the 3 Ps, passion, purpose, and then prayer, which is very important in my life. But leadership also means to me a servant's heart. When I knew that I would be a good leader, whether it was selling real estate or whether it was managing or whether it was owning my second company now, it really boiled down to, did I want to serve? Could I find my purpose in the world and in leadership through serving others? And I think that is different because, people don't want to be led leadership. They want to be served. So if anybody said, what is your secret ingredient? I would say, if I had one, it would be that I am so thankful and grateful that I have a servant's heart. That I...
And it's funny because this is going to circle back around to that first question, but it makes me think of real estate agents, and every person I meet as I've interviewed, I don't even know how many. It's been maybe 60 interviews, Isaac. But every single successful real estate agent has a servant's heart. Every single one has a servant's heart that we've interviewed on the show. And they all are different. They all have a different passion. They all have a different purpose, even though they're all either CEOs, they're owning brokerages, managing brokers, or real estate agents. And yet they all have a servant's heart, and they all work through purpose and passion and through prayer. And I love, before I ask you my next question, I just want to say too that, because everybody, obviously I know Jenny well from running Atlanta Fine Homes, an agent in your company, is that I love that in our company we pray together. We're not afraid to pray together. I know that's become in current days somehow, I don't know the word for it.
Politically incorrect.
Incorrect. Thank you. Yes. And I think it is the most beautiful way to bond and keep the humanity and keep those things that you talk about authenticity and vulnerability in our business in a way that we all connect. And some of the prayers that we have had have been for wisdom and being able to know the right thing to do and doing the right thing. And that just wraps right back into all of this. Well, what is your favorite leader that you admire and why?
Okay. Well, I have 3 that have been very important in my life. And some of these names you're going to know. But one of them is the retired CEO of Bell South Communications, Frank Skinner. And Frank is one of the most caring and one of the best communicators I have ever known. I mean, he is he's like in his 80s now, and he has a bad case of Parkinson's, but when he walks into a room, it lights up. And he has been such a wonderful friend and a mentor to me. And then the second one would be Jimmy Blanchard, who is the past CEO of Synovus Corporation out of Columbus. And he is the one that, through his book that he wrote and through his setting the example and being a mentor, taught me the role of how to be a servant leader. And so in our company, I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but the model of our company, and when I say servant leadership, so many companies have the CEO and the president and the management all at the top. And then it goes through down to the bottom. And our company, our servant leadership model is an inverted triangle. So I'm at the very bottom.
You're right.
CEO, president, management, staff, agents, clients. So we lead from the bottom up rather than from the top down.
I can tell you how true that is, because as someone who I've been in the business for 15 years, and a little less than half now of my career has been with 2 other companies, and the other half of my career has been with Atlanta Fine Homes. And I remember being from the outside and looking in. It took me a minute to figure it out, but I started picking up on the fact, I said, the difference between, especially once I had been in different companies, the difference between being an agent in another company and being an agent with Atlanta Fine Homes, run by Jenny Pruitt, has been that I said this a lot. I think I picked up on this several years ago when I'd been here. It took me a year, but I said, Jenny, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but Jenny has a way of putting her agents on a pedestal, word for word. I said that, and we've never had this conversation, but what you just said is exactly right. I said, there is a way that you, and it's not playing favorites, it's not, but it is, there is a way that you're serving your agents and putting them on a pedestal. You really are.
I really try. So that sounds good that you recognize that, because we really try. We're not always perfect at it, but we certainly keep it in mind. I mean, for sure, that is what we want to do. We want our people to know how much we appreciate them, how grateful we are, because, the real estate business is different than a lot of businesses that have product on the shelf. Mm-hmm. They have assets. Our assets are our agents and our staff. Our agents are commissioned independent contractors. Mm-hmm. And I underline the word independent because that's what they are, and because I consider our agents as their own company and under our umbrella. Mm-hmm. And so they're entrepreneurs, and we want to help them grow their business. But we definitely realize who our assets are and what our assets are. And so every day, just like we finished a manager's conference, it's really a manager's retreat. We told them if they met certain goals each year that we would go to manager's retreat, and we would treat their spouses as well. So we just got back from the Montage in Laguna Niguel, California.
Oh, how nice.
Now, that is not tough living. That's pretty good.
That sounds pretty nice.
Right there on the ocean. We left frigid weather and went to low 70s.
It was tough
wonderful.
Coming back. That had to be
tough
coming back.
Well, it was, but you know what? We inspired each other, encouraged each other. We were glad to get back to our people, really, to tell you the truth. But we spend 2 days in our meetings, and the bottom line of what we're talking about is what can we do better than we're doing? How can we help the agents be even more successful than they are now?
Exactly. So your favorite leader, there's 3.
Okay. And the third one is David Boehmig. Now, David
is one of my favorites too.
David is my son-in-law, but he's been in business with me at the other company, as well as we started this company together. Mm-hmm. And he is the co-founder and the president. Someday soon, probably the CEO, as I hand the medal to him. Mm-hmm. But he is an amazing leader. He amazes me every day. His thought processes, his caring, his attention to detail, his strategies. I mean, he's just so smart. Mm-hmm. And he majored in real estate at Georgia State. But he really got into the real estate business at the other company, and then we started this together. So I'd have to say I learned something from him every day.
I would love to know if there's, between those 3, and you can answer one or both of these, but is there kind of in like a quick word or sentence, what's the one thing from each leader that you found most impactful, and what's the one thing they have in common? If there's something that comes to you.
Okay, well, by the first leader, I would say how to really communicate. Mm-hmm. And by the second leader, I would say a servant's heart, the model of how to lead with a servant's heart. And then third one, David, I would say that I have learned how to listen better than I did. And I was a good listener, but I've learned how to listen better. I've learned how to rule strictly from the heart and not the head. And I had always ruled with my heart, but we are always on the same page. I cannot think in 20 years of very few times that we weren't on the same page.
Wow.
And we we usually see each other once a day in person, but we talk 3 or 4 times a day, just running things, bouncing things off,
And what do you think is the 3 things those so communicate, serve, and listen?
Well, all 3 of them have all 3 of those.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all 3. All of them are great communicators. All of them have a servant's heart leadership, and all of them are great listeners.
And from the heart.
From the heart.
From
yes.
the heart.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a fourth one that I'd have to add, but he's not on there. But I love Dan Cathy, who is the CEO of Chick-fil-A, who is an unbelievable leader. And I wish that I could get to know him even better. I know him as a friend, but even better because he has some great leadership examples. Yes.
That is true. So much of the leadership, so many leadership examples, I think all of us here around the country, it come from him and what he's done and how amazing. He's taken the fast food industry and completely, fast food's not the word for Chick-fil-A because he's taken it to a whole new level. It's fast, but he's taken it to a whole, it's like, I don't know if I want to call it fast food because he's taken it to a whole new level.
That's right.
What's the top advice you would share with other CEOs?
I would say of real estate companies, let's separate.
Yes,
of real
CEOs of real estate companies.
I think that most owners of real estate companies are not as selective as they should be when they're hiring agents. We just turned down in the last 2 months 3 $15 to $20 million producers that now work for competitors. And, there's a part of me, because I'm watching the bottom line, but not more than I'm caring about the people. And but that part of me wanted to hire them. But the other part of me, thank goodness, after we talked about it with our management staff, our senior management staff, David and I talked about it, we decided that it was not a good move to make because they were not respected in our company. They had some very contentious meetings with some of our people. And we just felt as though that it would not be good for our team. And so to do something on the short term and not think about the long term is not sensible. So we did not hire them, and it's okay. It is okay. And we're in the enviable position of people seeking us out to work at our company, and we want to keep it that way.
Exactly. I think there's an assumption in our business from people in the business assume that you go to a brokerage and you sign up and you just start working and they're glad to have you. And I think that is in some ways done a detriment to our business because there's this assumption that you go get your real estate license, you go sign up and you just go sell real estate. And when real estate is being conducted that way, it's key. It takes away from our industry overall.
Right.
So, and I love that you do that because it certainly gives us an environment in which we are working with strong agents. And again, we're like who we're around.
Right. And I also would think that the other advice I'd give is to create a culture and an environment that people want to be a part of. They want to come into the office and they trust their leaders. They trust the people they work with. So that culture and environment is very, very important.
Yeah, again, it makes me think of home. It's the home away from home.
Well, David and I actually, when you think about it, we're kind of selfish with the culture and environment that we've created because what we've done is we've created an environment that we like to work in. And that's the type of environment.
Well, if you like it, like-minded people are going to like it. So it brings great people around. What are some of the accomplishments in the past year that you're most proud of?
Well, I've walked the 60-mile walk for breast cancer and lived in a pub tent for 3 days.
Wow.
I did that a few years back. I don't know
when did you do that?
8 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I have danced for Alzheimer's in front of 750 people.
I remember that.
And raised $50,000. And on the breast cancer walk, raised $85,000 on the Alzheimer's dance, which it took 6 months of practice. A 2.5-minute dance.
Wow. How much fun was that?
But it was fun. Are you
glad it's over? Right.
It was fun. I was glad it was over, but it was fun. That's what Robert's
doing now. Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of our
Robert Berstay. Yes.
We got to cheer him on.
Yes, we do.
But we hope to raise $1 million this year for Alzheimer's for research. But so I've done that. So I've walked and I've danced, but I think one of the most rewarding things that I have done this last year in 2017 is I was chair of the legendary party for Shepherd Center, and I was so blessed to raise $5 million for Shepherd, and that is probably the most that's ever been raised for any charity in the Southeast.
That's incredible.
So we were just blessed beyond measure. Absolutely. And so that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but for 14 months, I lived and breathed that legendary party because every little detail.
But the differences that's going to make and is making in so many lives.
And it benefited the vets that come back from the Afghanistan and Iran war, and they have PTSD. So half of that went to that. Which is just unbelievable what they can do with that. And then the other half went to the MS Institute at Shepherd.
Wow, that's incredible.
So that's
incredible.
Fun.
So besides the Atlanta Fine Homes that you've founded and Jenny Pruitt and Associates that you founded and all of your accomplishments and all of the people you've made successful around you, you're also busy raising incredible funds and dancing and walking and going into, the whole
a day
thing.
at a time.
Love it. I love it. So I would love to hear from you if you would explain to us how you and your leadership team make tough decisions.
Well, we have powwows. And if David and I can't make the decision and we are really struggling with it, we get with our senior management team. We're very, very close. Everybody really loves each other. And we ask for their suggestions, and when we can, we follow them because they're out there with the troops. Yes, and we try to remain flexible because sometimes you have to adjust in midstream, so to speak. And so we want to be flexible. We want to make good decisions. We want to have options. If we make a mistake, we're very fast to say, we've made a mistake, we're sorry, and correct it as best we can. As I've said, we're not always right, but we can pick ourselves up and move on and move on. Yes, we don't get too bogged down in the details. We keep up with the trends. We try to stay on the cutting edge of the trends so that we know what competitors are emerging into the market. What is there a way that we can stay on the top of our game? So we're learning. And I never, that's the thing I love about the real estate business. I don't care if it's a good year, a good day, or a bad year. I have always loved coming to work every day in the real estate field. Because every day is different. You think you've got your whole day planned, and then something happens, and it changes the whole thing. Or, you might have had a deal fall through yesterday, but today something else happens. And so, it keeps it exciting.
It's full of exciting things, and it's always exciting people.
Yes.
Always. And the friendships that we are able to gain and the living rooms that we get to sit in, we never would have otherwise. Not at any job, not at, there's not much I can think of where you get to have the kind of friendships that we get to have in this business. How is your organization changing, and I should say Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's International Realty, and adapting to prepare for the future?
Well, like I said, we try to stay on the cutting edge of everything that's going on. So it takes a lot of reading, a lot of going to different seminars like Inland Connects in New York and San Francisco. David usually goes to that. And they are just, showing us what the future is going to be.
Exactly. And I'm going to put my 2 cents in, just again, being an agent in your organization. I have found that it's a multitude of perspectives. Like you talked about, every time you making tough decisions, sometimes it's about bringing everybody together and talking about those decisions and taking in the different perspectives. And I found in our company, it's also been the same thing in looking at the market and what it's going to do. It's really, you said something earlier in this interview about listening. And it's not just going, okay, this is what we're going to do because this is what we're supposed to do. And we're just going to have a big company and say we are, and we're just going to be great. But what makes you great is being great and listening. listening to the market, listening to the agents, having the powwows and listening to the staff to take that guidance and following passion, purpose, and prayer to get that guidance to keep, because how is somebody as successful as you are for 50 years? How do they do it? And that's what I've witnessed. But if you want to elaborate on that as we close this out.
Well, first of all, when you were saying about what we're going to do to stay ahead or whatever.
Yes.
I have to say that David and I both run our business on a faith-based level.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a proverb in Proverbs 16:3 that says, "Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will succeed." So every single day, I thank Him for 6 things, maybe 7 now. I thank Him for...
Isaac, you better be writing this down.
I thank Him for my salvation, first of all, my faith, my family, my health, for the wisdom that He gives me. And divine wisdom. So many times I have to ask for divine wisdom, for protection that He gives me. And I've added 2 more, so there are 8 things. I thank Him for the discernment. Now, discernment is a name that is a spiritual name, and it means that you can see beyond the normal thing that it may sound like, that you can see beneath that. So that's extra discernment. So if someone is saying to you that, you're not quite sure whether they're really telling you what you really need to hear, you can have that extra divine discernment. That's a very important word. It comes out of Proverbs.
Seeing past what's on the surface.
Yes, seeing past what's on the surface. And then I've started thanking Him for understanding, because sometimes I need to understand on a deeper level. So I am so thankful that I get to work every day with a business partner that's on that same page with me, because so many times we're limited with human level of wisdom. We need divine wisdom. And we are not bashful at all about any big decision that we have, that we pray together about it. And so the people, we don't stand up in sales meetings and do prayers and things like that, but I like the fact that our people know if they have a special need with their family, or even sometimes their business, with their health, for sure, that they can come to us and that we're there for them. And that's what I want to be. I want to stand in the gap. I love that word, stand in the gap for our people. I want to be the one that can stand in the gap for them, that can be beside them, walk beside them.
Well, and tell me but fill in that gap between whatever they want something to be and what it is, and bring that together for them and make their dreams come true.
Well, when I say standing in the gap, it would be that I was thinking more like that they were having a difficult time, and they needed someone to be there for them, and maybe to pray for them, or just encourage them, or that's what I was thinking when I was saying standing in the gap for them. Yes.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Now, recently I wrote a book, and
tell us about this.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I know about one of them.
Yes, just one. It's the one and only.
Okay, let's make sure. Okay.
That was a 2-year labor of love.
Yes.
So I wrote this book, and I started out, I had a co-author. She has written many books and has worked for many publishing houses, and she was wonderful. She interviewed me just like we're interviewing now, through email, through person, and for 2 years we worked on it. It was a labor of love, and she was absolutely wonderful. But the reason it started out being was that I wanted to leave a legacy for my 7 grandchildren in my family.
Wow, 7 grandchildren.
And maybe the great-grandchildren that I'd never know.
And tell us how many. So tell everybody number of children.
I have 2 daughters and 7 grandchildren.
And one has 4 children. Right.
Yes.
And one husband.
One has 5 children and one has 2. Yeah.
Wow.
David has 5.
David has 5. I don't know why I thought he had 4. I was thinking he had 5. So 5 and 2.
Yes. And so the name of it is Beneath His Wings. Yes.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about what it's obviously sharing wisdom.
Well, it's sharing how it tells the beginning of my story. So it's kind of like
a little bit of
a story about, the hard times I had in growing up. Well, my father died when we were very young, and all the things, because I think what happens in your childhood shapes you for the rest of your life. Now, you can change some of that, certainly. Different people react to hard times differently. But I had a difficult time growing up, and with my mother trying to make ends meet and so forth.
And do you think that gave you so much of the perseverance that you have today?
Yes, I do. It gave me the survival instinct.
And taught you faith?
Yes.
And going through that to come out of it?
Right. Taught me faith. Yes.
So this book, Beneath His Wings, tells that story?
Tells that story, how I got in real estate, what happened when we opened this company, how I sold the other company. So there are lessons in there on leadership, faith, leaving a legacy, a lot of lessons on leadership. Yes.
And this book,
bared my soul.
How do we find this book?
I think it's on Amazon, but it may not be on Amazon anymore.
Isaac, you got a job to do.
You.
Everybody knows Isaac. So Isaac's going to find the link to the book so that everybody has access to this book.
We have copies here that we can
and we
send
have
out.
copies. So just reach out to me and we will get you a copy. I keep looking at Isaac, but everybody can see me looking at them there. But we'll make sure that we get you everybody a book that wants a book, and we also will share the Amazon link to that book as well.
Well, I don't charge for the book. If you go to Amazon, you charge for it. But if you contact us, we'll send you a copy, and we don't charge for it. We just ask that a contribution would be made to Atlanta Mission.
Okay. Tell everybody about Atlanta Mission and what that is.
Atlanta Mission helps the homeless and the people who have had devastating loss in their lives, have lost their home, and they're out in the streets, and it gives them back their life. They provide shelter. They teach them. They take care of mothers and children. They teach them how to get a job. They help them get a job. They get them dressed for the job, trained for the job. They literally take people off the streets. It's the most wonderful organization.
That's incredible.
And it's very dear to mine and my husband. And David is on the board of the Atlanta Mission. So we do a lot for the Atlanta Mission because we really believe in the work that they're doing. Yes.
That's incredible.
So all the proceeds either go to the Atlanta Mission or to Wellspring, which is one of the organizations, but it's the one here in Atlanta that is so important in the sex trafficking industry, getting young girls 12 to 18 years old off the streets. So
that's something we don't think about from that, but Atlanta Mission also directly addresses that problem that is sadly, because of our international airport, such a big problem in Atlanta.
Right. So, there's so much to be done in so little time.
You are so right. And you've gotten so much done in so little time. It's amazing what you've done.
Oh, well, thank you, Jere. It's been a pleasure being on this show with you. I
Jenny,
can see why it is successful.
Well, thank you. It has been an honor having you.
Yes, thank you so much.